guess you'd call it an amber ale, a homebrew by a local farmer, a retired fellow. Maybe I'll talk about him a little bit during this video. But he's retired. It's pretty cool. We get a lot of farm to table food and some eggs from this guy, and they're like cheaper than the store eggs. And when you go pick vegetables, or you don't always go pick them, but a lot of times it's like, oh, you want some chard, you want some broccoli, you walk out to his big old garden. It's not that huge. He feeds his neighborhood, he likes to joke. And it's kind of interesting because he's also fancies himself a little conservative, but he's interesting. I wouldn't say he's conservative so much, but he was sort of a Trump supporter. My wife is the one that goes over there a lot, and and his wife are really friendly. If you go over there, I've been over there and sit down and have one of his beers. And the Trump support is just a little bit like I have some diehard Fox Republicans in my family, some of whom don't support Trump, and some who do. But there's a lot of Trump curious kind of stuff out there. People that don't really know that what they're getting is, oh yeah, this is green, so it's a little bit green to me. It's really interesting because it kind of looks white, and when it gets any shadow of the green, then it's going to start to disappear. So it's either white, or when green is showing, it's just sprinkled like that. It's not dark enough green. But anyway, so it's kind of a Trump curious thing is the way I see it. Let's see, should I pick up my mic a little bit? In a way, it's better just to keep it steady. Looks low. Looks low, like it's not the right device. Let me double check. Never hurts to double check. Everything's running a little slow. I wonder if I should start it again. What happens is it could be going through this stupid camera. Oh, it's going through the headset. Because of the other day. Hello. Hello. Yeah. That's what I thought. Okay, now I see. Sorry about that, you guys. Jeez, could you even hear any of that? Should I start over? So... all right. So that was 3.5 minutes. If I stop, I don't know how long I have to wait to start it up again. The thing is, this is a show, right? Welcome to my show. So I'm supposed to get it right? Well, I guess it's good it's not actually a show. That's just a premise. So anyway, kind of the Trump curious farm to table is what I was describing. Kind of shows you the situation we're really in. It's not as bad as we think. It's not like these people are really for these concentration camps. Even though they know they're concentration camps, they're kind of in a fugue. It's an illness. I mean, like, for example, they're trying to get the G7 to be one of Trump's properties. Why? Because in all of the this is Trump's story, and his fans, by golly, yeah, this makes total sense. Of all of the United States, the whole United States, the objectively one best place to have the next G7 or 8 or whatever, 9, whatever they make it, whatever Trump wants to make it, is at the Doral. Is that what it's called? One of Trump's properties, and it's 5 minutes from the airport. So obviously, that first of all, how luxurious to be that close to the airport. 2, it's objectively, it's like, hey, I know it can seem bad. I'm trying to get all these countries and even our own diplomats to pay into, my pocket. But, what you going to do? This is the best place. That's why for hundreds of years they've always been held at Trump properties. You can't do that. The Constitution specifically says you can't do the domestic emoluments where you're having the United States government pay your own business. You can't self-deal like that. And you can't specifically, especially, can't have foreign governments giving you that money. It's unconstitutional. It's written in the Constitution. I seen an argument in everything. I understand, hey, you can argue this point, and you could say, oh, the Constitution is out of date, just like it said 3/5 of a person. Okay, let's strike it, but it hasn't been stricken yet, and also it's not out of date. This kind of self-dealing is ridiculous. And a rich guy has to either divest, figure out a way not to self-deal, or, sorry, you're too rich to be president. You can't have those kinds of entanglements. And, I saw Diamond and Silk, beer burp, homebrew burp, at the Trump rally, talking about, they're saying he's making himself rich. Well, he was already rich. Yeah, well, rich guys know how to make themselves richer. Oh, he's already rich, so he's stopped trying to make money like you would. Like, poor people really would. Like, why would I never have $100 billion? Because around $13 billion, I would be spending so much time on my moon base, or my island fortress with helicopters. I mean, you just, like, oh, I'm really going to go work 80 hours a week to fuck over the other guy after you already have billions of dollars. Look, okay, when you're making $500,000 a year, as far as I'm concerned, coming from a working class background, you're basically as rich as it gets. Right? Now, surely there's, $100 million estates and stuff like that. I'm not saying you can buy absolutely anything in the world and roll around in a swimming pool full of gold coins, though you could. But at $500,000 a year, it's a matter of fact, I think it's more like $250, right? You can afford health care, you can $500 to travel as much as you want until you're like, I don't need to stay home, I'm sick of traveling. Anywhere you want in the world. Buy any kind of car you want, multiple of them every year. To be truly just comfortable and relaxed, you need much less than that other than your retirement. Like, at $100,000 a year, you're living really great. But the problem is you wouldn't necessarily have a retirement, because around that range, it's like, I'm sure there's a lot of people going, what are you talking about? You can live off of $45,000 or whatever. Yes, you can. Well, once you have 100, then you're going to, you're buying all the brands you want. You're living kind of like low grade, like working class, you're doing great. Like what I tell people, too, that don't seem to get it is like, when I was a kid, there wasn't batteries around. If your batteries went out, there weren't just batteries lined up. We had a lot of pens and stuff, but, there wasn't just always a pack of pens and pens full of ink. You'd be all these pens. There'd be no batteries. You'd be out of batteries. If somebody left the crackers open and they went stale, well, it's next month you get another thing on payday. We buy crackers and cookies and they last a week or whatever. So, on 100,000 or so, you're already at the point where you just get another box of crackers if that happened. And you say, stop wasting. You know, you don't have to budget how much hot water for showers and stuff. So I'm being really generous to the rich people, saying at $500,000, it's like, well, that's as rich as you fucking, you know, and a billionaire, $1 billion, $1 billion, 2,000 years of that. Wait, did I do the math right? $500,000 a year is $1 million every 2 years. And $1 billion is 1,000 million. So that's 2,000 years at living the most no worry, not only no worry, but every luxury you would want, take any cruise you want. But they like to make the next 100 a billion. And I don't see how you could call it anything except for a mental illness when the president owns properties and says, we want to have a G8. We've looked all around the whole country, and, you know, I'm sorry, you guys. You know, I hate the way it looks and everything, but this is objectively the best and only property. There is no other suitable property. I know it is my property, and that's against the Constitution, but there's just no other place to have it. In the whole United States, not in New York, not in Chicago, not in San Francisco, not in the Boondocks, not at Forstown, not at Ojai, not at Sillamar. There's nowhere in the whole world except for my property, and his followers are going to fall by it. And actually think if we complain, well, that's just because you're deranged. You have to be deranged to object to something like that. When your political opponent is the president, wants to have everybody go only to his properties, the federal government, foreign countries when they're visiting, you're deranged if you don't like that. Well, but it's in the Constitution. The Founding Fathers said, no, you can't self-deal and you can't have other foreign government. Well, they had Trump derangement syndrome, obviously. It's ridiculous. So, another thing I was going to talk about before I get to the debate, living in the country. That was my... Oh, wait, we got some comments. Oh, it's Tinfoil Hatter. You're a mixed bag, dude. Okay. What's the... I'm not going to read them. I'll read them silently, and we'll see if I want to read any of them. I'm just teasing Tinfoil Hatter, by the way. Don't get all butthurt. Everybody always gets butthurt. I'm just familiar and, hey, how you doing, buddy? And people get butthurt. Tinfoil, he doesn't need... You're such a fucking troll, Tinfoil. He doesn't need anybody staying at his hotel. He said as much. Oh, he said that. You can't be serious. Huh. Yeah, you're just a troll, Tinfoil Hatter. I don't think you believe anybody could possibly believe what you're saying. So my dream in my life has been to live in the country, work from home, and I've achieved that. If it wasn't for other difficult things, it'd be like, yay. I'm not really set. I have to work really hard. It's bothering me when the hippie types are like, you know, you gotta live for today, you can always make money tomorrow. Let's put a meme on Facebook about that. It's like, no, that it is tomorrow then. It's not easy to make money. And the main problem is like, I'm 51, 15 years from now, you know, I want to retire. And I'm old enough, I remember a couple 10-year chunks. That doesn't seem like that long to me. And I can, you know, I'm doing good now. I'm building up more of a savings than I ever had. But like, I also sometimes have to find work and stuff in between work for a couple months, and that's expensive. So it's not like at this rate of savings, even if we were lucky and there's not some big 1 year can't get a job or whatever, because I'm getting kind of spoiled about the idea of like driving somewhere and getting an apartment in Boston and having to work 4 hours away from my country place. Kind of spoiled. But even if it all goes smooth, it's not like I'll have enough money in 15 years to like survive 65 until, God forbid I live to 85 or 90 or something. And yet I also don't like a best case scenario, I die right at I don't want to die right when I stop. I'd like to have some retirement period of time, So it's funny though, because, I have been dealing with the harshness of, well, that reminds me of, so this public dialogue habit of talking to you at all. Now, I got on bulletin boards, we called them, with, the modem, the old-fashioned phone modem. Beep. Some of you will know what that was. And I used to do that even, I guess I was 13 or 14. I got the computer and using the modem. So it was a very much of a novelty. And even though it continued to be a novelty, I was always the kind of person, at a family gathering, parties as you get older. I talk politics and philosophy. I'm in that crowd. People always coming by going, "What are you talking about politics for? Philosophy, it's a party." It's like, yeah, well, you had to look, people that like to talk about that. We did that at our, we didn't, working class, we didn't have our cocktail parties, but, we talked at our party, little groups, around the fire pit or whatever. And so you get in a habit of being able to vent. Now, I think the conversation, and literally I've always been on forums and news groups and typed and blogging, podcasting and vlogging. And it got really good. There was a sweet spot the first few years of YouTube in terms of really, with the video reply system, it helped you continually meet new people and have this extended debate where things became quite clear. And, a couple things happened. One, I do think literally removing the video reply feature had a significant material effect on it. And also just these conversations get old, and since everybody like Haithaway and Gary is always trying to be an evangelist, everybody gets frustrated. Why are you guys not converts to my religion yet? I waited 8 years. And it's like, well, because all we can really do is put the ideas on the table. There's other people out there. If you really want to get collectors and followers, the real problem is to get collectors and followers, you have to basically have that same monetizing. If you want money, or you don't want money but you want followers, it becomes the same kind of thing where you have to leverage your audience. And that's not what we're really doing. I mean, we're fooling ourselves if we think we're going to have a big movement. We're going to convince everybody to become an antinatalist. We're going to convince everybody that scientists are crazy folk and, geez, we got a better system. It's to share the ideas, to ensure that they're as understood as well. People think they understand your ideas, but they get them wrong. So it's to try to make sure they're at least getting them right. And then when they disagree, at least they understand it well enough to say, well, here's what he believes. I don't believe that, but here I could describe it. So you become in this habit where at the peak, that's what's going on. You're having a true exchange of ideas. But at the ebb, you still get to do your brain dumps, which people could call venting or whatever, just getting off your chest, but just doing brain dumps so you can feel like, I thought about that, and here I recorded it, and now that, it's a piece of notepaper, maybe I'll read it in the future, maybe not. And the fact that even at the ebb, you do get feedback, like this Australian guy keeps giving very interesting feedback, like when I was talking about the guns, he told me about this fact that there's been a bunch of issues, and I looked it up, and it's definitely true and still going on. Australians ordering guns from the United States that are not legal there anymore, and then the United States gun guys are like, oh, we didn't know that, and stuff like that, where it's really like to clamp down on that, you'd have to have America say, look, it's illegal to sell guns and mail them to countries that blah, blah, blah. And if you don't do that, you're actually going to hurt the cause of free guns, because, eventually there's going to be problems, or a shooting down there where the gun gets traced, or it's going to come out, or Australia is going to have less open trade, like all the mail is going to have to be searched. Why? Because they're sending illegal stuff in there. It's like, it doesn't pay for society to break those kinds of rules, just for individuals. So, So talking about these things even at Dab, you're going to get new little bits of information and threads, which you can then go spend time following and doing the research, the great information that you can get. But people don't really have the web filter. It's like there's this meme now, and it makes sense. It's like we used to think people are stupid because they didn't have access to information. Then the internet came along. So there's more to it than that. All right, the real subject, the debate. Biden will lose the election. That's my prediction. If Biden is the nominee, it'll be close. Biden could still win. Maybe I'm just being like a splashy and hyperbolic a little bit, but it's truly what I feel is that Biden has more of a chance of losing than beating Trump. He's been bullied at the last 3 debates, and he did not stand up well. When he does stand up well, he doesn't have a coherent line. Like, Elizabeth Warren's getting old, but she has a spark in her eye. She can keep her thought of her thread. I do admit I see why people are, say, oh, Bernie always seems mad. He also can keep the thread of a thought, but then again, he always is coming back to, like, the mad version of it. He can't just play it off or know when he's ahead. But Biden is actually like stumbling like somebody that's, has a little bit of, we don't call it dementia because that would be rude kind of a thing. And I've never liked Biden. I have tons against him. So, bias beware. But I think there's definitely also something more to what's going on now. And he shows no possibility of being able to deal with Trump. I don't know anybody that thinks they're supporting Biden because he somehow can handle Trump. It's like, no, look, being a white old guy is not going to be enough, right? They're not just voting for a white old guy. Bernie is that as well. It's like, basically, the Republican and Trump supporters are not in any significant number going to vote for any Democrat no matter what. If you give them an old white guy, it'll be like, yeah, they're giving us an old white guy, but really he's a socialist that loves, Obama, the Muslim. It's like they run Kerry. Well, he's a war hero. They can't call him an anti... Well, of course they can. McGovern is known as some weak-like, pansy-like, liberal. He was a war hero. Look it up. McGovern. And he was a perfectly ordinary Democrat because we still had FDR Democrats at that time. And they painted him in this other way. So it doesn't matter. A Democrat that's a white guy, just the fact that he's a Democrat and a white guy, the people that are voting on the white guy principle are not going to buy it. They're more likely to vote for an Obama because, at least they're not trying to send me some white guy as if I'm going to buy that he's conservative just because he's white. I know he's one of those communist white guys. Well, maybe a black guy might be a moderate. I'm sure a bunch of people must have voted that way, and knowing full well that Obama was a moderate. I knew he was a moderate, but I thought he was a little more liberal, a little more progressive hopesy. Fell for a little bit of that. That I believed it more than it turned out to be a little bit. But on the other hand, I knew, he hadn't filibustered Roberts and stuff. I knew, was with Lieberman was his mentor. I saw, okay, he's definitely not as liberal as the idea that we got when he gave that speech at the Democratic National Convention. So it's going to come down to actual speaking and report and stuff. And frankly, even though, Trump is also slurring of words here and there and always says crazy shit, and definitely, his language is not as cogent and coherent as it was in the past. And mind you, I've always disliked Trump since the 80s. The whole greed is good thing, it's a pet peeve how much I dislike him as a celebrity. The idea of him being president is amazing. So, I'm not crying, but you get to, drink my liberal angst at this whole idea that's one, like my least favorite celebrity becomes president. You can imagine. And he used to be more coherent, though, just in his use of the language, not to point fingers. But he's still, right now, he's way more listenable and can form the stuff together in a listenable way than Biden. Or than Hillary, for that matter. He's more interesting. I watch his rallies. It is easier to listen to what he's saying, even though I'm going, this is stupid, that's outrageous, oh, that's racist, that's, I'm doing all of this. And it's still easier to listen than with Clinton. And Biden used to have some of the same thing, like you could listen to him speak, and now it's like there's not even a complete idea the way he jumped around in that last debate. And how is he going to, if he can't stand up to himself in a party where he has all the advantages and everybody's, even if they're going to attack him, are going to go, wow, I also very much respect you. How's he going to deal with Trump? Well, he's not. So it's terrible. Item 2. Klobuchar. She said, nobody's going to remember this, about the, just checking what's going on here. Okay, I got that. The comments there. Comment. Dang. She talked about restoring the tone. I hate when they talk about that, and I'm into tone. I believe that this can be a rough and tumble. My attitude on YouTube has always been, and the other discussion media I was just been talking about earlier, is if somebody decides they want to do the banter, the bants as the young alt-writers and alt-lighters call it now, I'm into that. Mostly I'd like to be polite. Like, I don't want to go into some sort of ponage display with a to be serious or somebody that's being reasonable. But then again, if somebody's a little more like, hey, I like being a little outrageous from time to time, da spook, we'll do it that way, but with mutual respect. And if you're going to be calling me fucktard all the time to a certain limit, we'll be like, okay. I could take all of these different modes. I prefer mostly, I think, structured conversation and a certain amount of politeness, because even when I'm engaging with the Gary style, I don't say, oh, you're ugly, oh, you're a mutant, oh, you're this, oh, you have that, and you're too this, your class is too high, your class is too low, you're this or you're that. I mean, you might be able to get a couple examples of certain things, but I might say, hey, I think you're a sucker to believe Trump. And people take offense at that. You just called me a sucker. And I understand. Fair enough. And so I see how I step over the line, there's a million infinite lines. But, if somebody's heavy set, I don't say, oh, you fogger, and stuff like that. And I feel like I'm not going to a low blow. I like the tone should be respectful. We should all treat each other as though we were colleagues, I think. Because the fact that we have each other to discuss these ideas with, and that there's people that are enemies politically even, or whatever, philosophically, in physics, whatever, that we are able to share the ideas with each other is a benefit that we offer each other. And that there should just be a basic of respect at that point. And we don't, dox each other or out each other in those kinds of ways. We don't belittle each other for little things like how we decide to keep our house, or how much money we have or don't have, or our vices and our non-vices and things like that. And so to me, I think I'm pro-tone. Oh, my phone is vibrating. I'll bet you that's my wife upstairs saying, "Are you coming to bed?" Hey, Jen, I'm making a video. Oh, shit, I just doxed your name on the video. It's live, so I just, I'm making a video. What? No, but I'm in the middle of a video. Do you want to talk about it in a minute? Crazy ducks outside? That sounds cool. We'll just finish up then and go listen to the ducks. Oh, you think it might be geese? Really? Okay, I'll go check that out in a second. But I have 3 more points. Okay, alright, love you. Okay, bye. That's not going to work. Nobody's going to believe that. I can't. She calls me when she's in the house upstairs. It's like, there's nothing. I'm like, don't do that. Like, it bothered me for a long time. And now I'm just like, okay, it's like having an intercom, I guess. I don't really like the phone, though, so. So anyway, the tone. Enough preface for the tone. The thing is, it's too late for that. I mean, Obama had a great tone, right? And people that say, oh, he inflamed racism. But when that one, I think it was a Harvard professor and the cops, he was in his own home. Somebody called the cops go in, guns drawn, I believe. Look it up. And I'll give you the search term in a second. And, so it was one of the early Me Too kind of moments with, like, an African-American professor. Like, hey, this guy's pretty legit, with the gray beard and looks pretty legit. And so what did Obama do? He had the beer summit. Those are their search terms. Look it up. Beer summit. I thought, well, that's pretty classy. And in a lot of ways, he's pretty classy, even if you think it was fake or whatnot. And they acted like, and he worked with Republicans. And he was basically like what an old moderate to liberal moderate Republican would be like. Not even as liberal as like a Lincoln Chafee or something. And if anything, he pulled off that tone. If anything, I give him a break for some of the things I wish he would have done stronger. And he went for having a good tone, and it was an experiment, and they just like taking advantage of that. Just like all bullies. Bullies will go, oh, but you're smart, and you're not. Use a nice tone with that bully. That doesn't make him be nicer back to you, or her for that matter. So that tone bullshit that Klobuchar was trying to pull. Trump means the civil discussion is not how we're going to solve our problems. Got another comment. Synchronium 24. We're all suckers. Trump supporters are unique in that they're proud of it. I like that. I like the way you think based on your last couple comments. All right. Item 3 in the debate. Castro. I think Castro, he's been impressing me. I'm not going to support him. I don't think it's his time. But I would not support him if it turned out that he took off. This is separate from him getting in trouble for, it's not totally separate, I'll talk about it in a second, for like some sort of ageism with Biden. I do like him. Policy-wise, I like him a little. I think he's another one of the people that's leaning towards what I think of as now a traditional, in my lifetime, a post-FDR Democrat. But I like him, and I think he's brave, which is an important thing. I don't have to agree with everything about you. I think that if you're brave and fairly, brave and straightforward, fairly straightforward, you can have some showmanship to you. That can be a skill in politics. That's a good sign. And I think that presidents have to be good speakers. It's not just like, oh, that's flashy and doesn't matter. No, you have to be a good speaker. We need somebody that has ideas, knows how to get people, knows how to hire, has connections in a wide variety of fields so they can pull on different resources, has a judgment of character, and has to be a good speaker. If you have all of those things, but you're not a good speaker, like maybe Hillary is that person, not really sure, but, or maybe, some of these boring people, Biden even, but you aren't the speaker, a good speaker where people like you when they listen to you, and you can just separate from what you say again, because I'm saying Trump, he's listenable, and so it's just a cadence thing or whatever. Yeah, it's not your ideas, it's not your positions, it's one of the things you have to have. It's like if you're going to be the front man for a band, you have to have stage presence. I have everything but stage presence. Okay, well, don't be the front man then. But I'm the lead singer. Yeah, well, let the drummer be the front man. I mean, you have to have this presence if you're going to help bring 300 million people on board to some plans that they voted for. I think Castro has it a little bit. And in terms of him, I didn't think he was laying in wait to make an ageism thing. Nobody would strategize that, right? Because that would backfire. I think Biden really does seem addled, and he really had said there was buy-in, and maybe he misspoke. I guess his plan probably is more defends the fact that he misused the word buy-in and the word automatic. But then again, he's also, who cares? I don't want to defend him. He's also like, if you can't afford it, and it's like, if you can't afford it means, I think it's 130 or 138% of the poverty level. So, which is like $12,000 for a single person. So, or for a family of three, it's like $20,000, $21,000 right now. So, at $23,000 and above, so $25,000, you could totally afford $1,500 a month for health care. And so fuck his crazy lying language too. So I don't mind that Castro did that. I did go ooh with the audience because it sounded, but I didn't think it's so much ageist as specifically Biden is being addled. It's like, don't you remember what you just said or not? How can we have a discussion if you just don't even seem cogent? Totally fair. I didn't think it looked good for Castro. My liking of Castro was not based on him doing that strategically or something, and the way he explained it afterwards, like he won't even admit it looked ageist. I would be like, if I was in his situation, I'd want to be like, sorry you guys all took it as ageist, but it looked to me like he forgot what he had said 3 minutes ago, and he was saying, I didn't say what I did say, and he did, so what else was I supposed to ask him? So I'd kind of do the half double down on it, but whatever. But he's kind of interesting guy. More so than at the beginning, I was less interested in him. Warren is doing good. I think she seems very lucid. I think she's totally prepared. Yeah, there's some baggage. Well, Trump has baggage. So what's her baggage? The Pocahontas thing. And with the liberal side, or the super progressive side, or the attack progressive, the anti-DNC progressive, it's like, oh, she was a conservative. As I've said before, I think her narrative having switched is it's explained. It's fine. I'd prefer Bernie. I think Bernie is also good. But I think we need a compromise. And I think there's a lot of people that are hating on Bernie for various reasons. Maybe they're legit, maybe not. Mostly not, I think, but whatever. But, when you're getting a compromise, it's like, yeah, I will happily support Warren. If Biden people could support Warren, and I'm a Bernie person could support Warren, we could go with Warren. She did look a little weak for a while, just getting trolled into doing the genealogy. And then doing the genealogy is one thing, but then publicizing it when it's going to be that tiny percentage, that looked like, look, if you're going to ignore the trolls, and if you do want to pwn back, play your cards right? But, on the other hand, who cares? I mean, Trump's made plenty of mistakes and flubs like that. You can just bowl through those mistakes, and that's like her only one. Other than that, she's very good at not being forced into other people's framing. So, so yeah, I think Warren has really shown a lot of promise. Now, any of you Trump supporters, seriously, explain in comments how the G8 or 7, whichever it may be, really, it has to be a Trump's thing. I know it's weird that we're going to be paying still more federal money like we're paying constantly, like $100 million to Trump's properties just so Trump could stay there, and hundreds of millions. But he doesn't need hundreds of millions of dollars. He hates hundreds of millions. He sold steaks for a few dollars each, but he doesn't like more hundreds of millions of dollars. It's just that objectively, it's the best place, right? That you believe it means you're fucking stupid, but that you expect me to believe it, and you can't even see why your political opponents are not going to think it's okay that your president is making the top strongest 7 or 8 nations in the world go to one of his properties. I must be deranged to object to such a thing. And I'm getting very self-conscious because you think I'm deranged. I better worry maybe I'm deranged. I don't think so. I think you're proving that you're deranged, all right? So, oh hey, Faith, just in time. G7, G8, G9, who knows these days? You can never know until it happens. So, with that, I will say adieu. For those of you that didn't like the messed up audio, and I still don't know how bad it was, I'll tell you right now, fast forward to 3 minutes and 30 seconds around there, started to get better. And of course, you might probably didn't seek forward to this point in the video to get that advice, but then again, that's kind of on you if you think about it. All right, goodbye, everybody. That's the end of my show for